The ACKS II Treasure Tome is live on Kickstarter now. D&D 2024 has a killer new feature called Bastions that lets your character create totally cozy hidey holes to live in and fill with things like bedrooms, parlors, kitchens, dining rooms, and even theaters. You get them when you reach level 5 and can upgrade them at level 9, 13, and 17. Some of the rooms even give you mechanical benefits, and they serve as money sinks, so you can finally have something to do with that mountain of gold that you accumulated through entirely lawful means. Now, while Wizards of the Coast didn't send me an advanced copy of the 2024 DMG, I did watch a video on Bastions by both Ginny D and Pointy Hat, so I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on what this new feature has to offer. And you know what? This feels like WotC is just pulling another WotC. Now at first, I was actually happy to see that Wizards seemed to be making a return to domain play in D&D, and to my queen's tremendous credit, she linked a blog that discussed some of the ways in which strongholds in the domain game has appeared in previous editions. It's something that's really been ignored in D&D for a very long time, and has been relegated to third-party supplements made by people like Matt Colville in order to bring it back into the modern game. But after watching some of these videos on Bastions, I started to think that the biggest scandal in D&D history may have just gotten worse. From what I can see, Bastions don't really affect the game in a fundamental way. They don't allow you to raise armies, play politics beyond simple parlor drama, and as far as being money sinks, I don't think that this is going to be a money sink for your characters, but for your players. You see, WotC has publicly stated that D&D is tremendously under-monetized as a brand. They seem to be really pushing a lot of resources into their new virtual tabletop, and features like Bastions seem like prime territory to capitalize on people playing this game. I'd be willing to bet money that they will have microtransactions for different skins, variant rooms, and all sorts of other cosmetic knickknacks that players and GMs will be able to buy and spend hours upon hours arranging like you're playing Stardew Valley.
Who is this for? And first of all, it's for me. I just spent 6 consecutive Stardew Valley days organizing this shed.
Her words, not mine. And I don't think this is a stretch at all. When WotC tells you what they're going to do, you should believe them. This idea of bastions, or really domains, is something that can add tremendous value to a game. But the way it's been described by the people who have actually read the material in the new DMG, it just sounds like this is going to be a means for Wizards to soak people for more cash without much added value to the customer. And this isn't the only problem with the new edition. D&D 2024, whether you like it or not, simply doesn't feel like the Dungeons & Dragons that most of us grew up with. And I can already hear the sound of 1,000 Redditors typing, "Old man yells at cloud." But I get it. This game is not for me. It hasn't been for a long time. And that doesn't really bother me. WotC filling their books with art of everyone getting along, taking SSRIs, and generally living without any conflict or heroism, it doesn't keep me up at night because I don't have to play this game. But for those of you out there that WotC has just plain abandoned, or anyone that sees the promise of this idea of something like Bastions, you who dream of a game that lets you build strongholds, field armies in the tens of thousands, become a king or queen of a realm, and wage war across entire continents, there is a game that does this, and so much more. And all you have to do is look in the mirror and ask yourself one question: how many times a day do I think about the Roman Empire? Anyone who dreams of the days when Dungeons & Dragons was about looting tombs, crushing your enemies, seeing them driven before you, and hearing the lamentations of their women, ACKS II is the game for you. This is the kind of D&D that Gary Arneson and Dave Gygax played in the 70s and 80s. It's the crystallization of the core themes and gameplay that those absolute legends were striving for. Simply put, ACKS II is the best version of D&D ever made, and it's not even close. So how does it do Bastions better than WotC then? Well, the first thing you need to understand about ACKS is that it's built for long-term campaign play. The domain game is not an afterthought or simply a tacked-on option meant to soak you for more cash so that you can fill a castle with different colored digital armoires and ottomans. The title of the game tells you exactly what to expect when you play it. You start as an adventurer, become a conqueror, and eventually a king. if you can survive, that is. If you've played any version of D&D, you'll be instantly at home in ACKS. In fact, Mike Mearls took inspiration from Adventurer Conqueror King System when he was designing 5e, so if you've ever played the most popular version of the most famous role-playing game, you've already sort of had a taste of some of its concepts. But the thing that truly sets it apart is the scope and vision of the game. This is not a game of Marvel superheroes going to the Renaissance Fair. It's a game that expects you to play daring adventurers with wild ambitions, set in a world that is surrounded on all sides by a torrent of violence and bloodshed. It takes place in a sort of dark fantasy version of the Roman Empire on the verge of collapse. It's a game where the dudes are jacked, the chicks are hot, and the monsters need to be slaughtered, because if you don't, they'll eat your children and sacrifice your family to the dark gods of chaos and murder. Surrounded on all sides by other empires, hordes of monsters, and soaked in the decadence of internal political conflict, ACKS gives you a world demanding to be conquered. Instead of relying on experience points only from monsters or wishy-washy milestone systems, ACKS rewards your players for recovering lost treasures, winning battles, and crafting items of potent magic. Every gold piece you bring back from the dungeon is one experience point towards your next level. But this isn't just an OSR game where you loot dungeons over and over again in an endless loop. This is not a clone of basic expert set. It's something fundamentally new. The gold for XP system in ACKS scales with you as you level and demands that you get out of your comfort zone and set your sights higher if you want to level up. Eventually, your adventuring career is going to put you in the position of coming into direct conflict with corrupt and petty rulers surrounding you. You'll have to hire troops, wage battles, and create a stronghold. After a few victories, you'll have your own small domain, and the income your lands generate will give you even more experience. But the more you level up, the less your tiny little domain will contribute to your experience growth. Eventually, you're going to need a bigger domain. You'll have to raise bigger armies, enlist powerful mages and priests as allies, and you'll get embroiled in conflicts that rage across an entire continent. You'll fight armies of beastmen, slay giants and dragons, rule the world, and possibly even become a god. The idea that a stronghold or a bastion is going to be some sort of an afterthought with just a few different room types and some rather pointless encounters is utterly ridiculous. ACKS takes this so seriously that every single class works towards its own type of stronghold to use as a lever for expanding their conquests. Fighters work towards military strongholds where they can train and field troops. Thieves and elven nightblades construct hideouts where they can execute different hijinks like burglary, spying, arson, kidnapping, sabotaging other strongholds, smuggling, and racketeering. Crusaders create militarized churches and fortified temples in the name of the Empyrean gods. Venturers create massive guild halls where they manage vast business ventures. And mages and warlocks create sanctums and even dungeons where they can harvest arcane power and create incredible magic items. These aren't simply different variants of a bog-standard castle or mansion. Each class has its own gameplay and activities that drive them toward creating these bastions of power. Victory in war gives you tremendous amounts of experience. Doing magical research and creating magic items for the arcane and divine classes gives you tremendous amounts of experience. Actually being a thief and running a criminal syndicate in a city gives you tremendous amounts of experience. There are 21 classes in the core game of ACKS, each with their own special paths to conquest and their own unique gameplay. And in a party of mixed classes, each pursuing their own path generates huge numbers of plot hooks that will create emergent stories that you can only dream of in the game that WotC makes. And Adventurer Conqueror King System has rock-solid mechanics for all of this. None of this is tacked on. There's an entire arbitrage trading system that can lead you on multi-month adventures across the world, buying and selling goods to different parts of the Empire. There's a mass combat system that lets you resolve battles from small-scale platoon level all the way up to massive pitched battles, the likes of which haven't been seen since the time of Napoleon, where tens of thousands of troops on each side clash in titanic shoving matches. All the while, wizards are throwing fireballs and casting spells that can barbecue platoons or even companies of men. And the mass combat system is dead simple, and even accounts for how your character makes a difference on the battlefield. Everyone praising Bastions for finally creating money sinks in D&D as if it's some new innovation should frankly just be embarrassed. Treasure has been pointless in D&D for years because it's a poorly designed game. If you scored 50,000 GP, you can practically just throw it in the river for all the good it does you. This game, though, has things for you to spend your money on. and they're things that actually matter in a fundamental way to the game. And you will run out of money, and running out of money will force you to go on bigger and bigger adventures. This is a game where treasure is fundamental to every aspect of everything you do, and right now that treasure is getting even better. The ACKS II Treasure Tome is live on Kickstarter right now. It's got more than 1,000 new magic items to throw into your game, and this is not simply a litany of sword +1, followed by sword +2, followed by sword +3, or anything that qualifies as remotely boring. This is the wildest and most creative treasure that you're going to find in any D20 fantasy system, and it's entirely built from the ground up using the ACKS II rules that you already have. And if you missed the ACKS II Kickstarter last year, this is your chance to get the complete system in the premium leatherette set that's getting delivered in Q1 of 2025. And unlike some of the sponsored reviews for the latest bad fantasy slop from Wizards of the Coast, I'm not getting paid for this video. I just genuinely love ACKS II. I've been running it every other week for 10 months, and I've never had players this engaged in a game. The truth is that ACKS really is the best version of the Dungeons & Dragons genre of role-playing games. It delivers everything that I want and a hell of a lot more. It really is the most systematic treatment of the adventure role-playing game ever made. And the craziest thing is that the game exposes everything to you. Much like D&D, the core game comes in 3 books. Your player's handbook analog is the revised rulebook. This massive tome will take you from a petty adventurer to the ruler of an entire continent. It has rules for anything you could want to do in a sword and sorcery world. The second book is the Monstrous Manual, which not only has hundreds of fantasy monsters to pit against your players, but also systematic rules for creating your own monsters from the ground up. There is nothing wishy-washy or undefined here, and whatever you make is guaranteed to be balanced within the system. If you follow these rules, your monster will fit in ACKS. And the final book in the core set is the Judge's Journal. This book is an achievement. It is without a doubt the best book on game mastery advice ever written, and it belongs on your shelf right next to the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide by Gygax. This book will actually teach you how to run a great game, manage problems at the table. It'll provide tons of treasure, encounters, and entire systems that'll generate new adventures and storylines in your existing campaign. What is even crazier is that it exposes all of the mechanics that were used to build every single class, every single spell, and every single race in the game. If you've had a campaign setting kicking around in your mind for years and years, this book will guide you through actually building it and writing it down. Just like the Monstrous Manual, you can create an entirely new game world with custom classes and magic and races, and they'll all work together cohesively. None of it will be broken. And this is the real value of this game. It's something that's going to last you a lifetime. For anyone who wants to play D&D for the rest of your life, you don't have to buy any more fantasy heartbreakers after this. It's more than a game. It's a set of tools that if you learn how to use them and master over time, it'll pay off massively. And ACKS II is going to be mined by game designers for generations to come. It is totally systematic in a way that I didn't even really think was possible in RPGs, and it's a game that I'm going to be playing for a very, very long time. And after playing ACKS II regularly for the better part of a year, honestly, I'm still learning. The game is just too vast to experience in a short campaign. And if you're intimidated by the decidedly not rules-light nature of this game, just know that I've made tons of mistakes. I've misunderstood some systems and found out that I've done some things hilariously wrong throughout my campaign. But it's been a blast, and I'm getting better at it. And the more I learn, the more I love this game. And it's certainly not without issues that drive me crazy. But those issues are so minor in comparison to what it allows you to do that I'm just completely willing to overlook them. So if you're anything like me and you found yourself wondering what the fuck happened to D&D and how did it turn into this, just know that you don't ever have to lose sleep about WotC doing something stupid or tarnishing the legacy of Dungeons & Dragons. There is a much better game that is made specifically for people like you. It's called Adventurer Conqueror King System, and you can play that instead of doom spiraling about Mexican orcs or elves on Ambien. You can rest assured that ACKS is never going to monetize you in bad faith, give you broken rules or supplements, or ever outlaw chainmail bikinis. The game of D&D you've always wanted, it's already here. Adventurer Conqueror King System is the smartest, most fun, and most badass game in this genre. All you have to do is head to the Kickstarter page, and the world is yours to conquer. We have a lot more videos about ACKS coming in the future. It's a game that is simply too vast to review in one video. We're going to cover the classes, the mass combat system, magical research, monster creation, everything. And more importantly, we're going to keep playing it because it's that goddamn good.